Welcome back to my top 10 favorite comedies. Well, let's not waste any time, let's get back to the countdown. Number 5. Ghostbusters. Yeah, you knew it was coming. Aside from the fact that it has an unbelievably creative premise, Ghostbusters succeeds from having some of the funniest people at the time in one place. Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Harold Ramis, how can you go wrong with that trio? I just love the way these guys work off each other and make a really complete and funny team. On top of that, the lines, man. The lines are just perfect. This is probably the movie I quote the most in general situations, next to maybe Batman and actually the next movie you'll see on the list here. The lines are just so cynical and laid back that it's hard not to use them in everyday talk. The cool thing is that when I was a kid, I was only familiar with the cartoon, and then I was like, dude, there's a movie? Dude, they swear up a storm? Dude, they're smoking? This is badass! And to me, they still are pretty badass. They're comedians with weapons, they're practically my personal heroes. I looked up to it then, and I look up to it now. I love the idea, I love the jokes, but most of all, I love the characters. Number 4. Spaceballs. This is another movie I quote all the time. Not as much from the Lone Star and Vespa story, but more from the Dark Helmet subplot. These guys take up so much of the movie, and to me, there's nothing funnier than a powerful guy who is an absolute loser. I love the incompetence that they produce. Whenever Helmet, Sanders, and Scroob get together, it's impossible to keep a straight face. They just clearly have no idea what they're doing. You're looking at different levels of idiocy, and yet somehow they have an entire empire at their command. And that just really cracks me up. How did they get an entire empire at their command? And of course, the visual jokes are just a riot, most of them being over-the-top cartoony and filled with painful slapstick. I quote it a lot in my videos, and everyone always gets the references. And even though the lines and puns are good, it's the characters that keep us coming back, particularly the villains. These guys make me laugh every single time, never without fail. What else can I say but, may the Schwartz be with you. Number 3. What's Up, Doc? Now don't get me wrong, I'm not really a Barbra Streisand or Ryan O'Neal fan, but this screwball comedy has some of the best writing and fastest timing in maybe the past 50 years. The jokes are quick, the characters are quirky, and again, it pays tribute to the epic comedy by having one hell of a great car chase at the end. It's right up there with the Blues Brothers chase in terms of creativity and laugh value. It's just perfect. Though sort of like a farce, What's Up Doc takes a lot of its comedy from screwball films like His Girl Friday and Bringing Up Baby. On top of that, as you probably guess, it also takes a lot of its humor from the Looney Tunes. When you watch it, it may start off a little slow, but trust me when I say if you stick with it, you're really in for something clever and really funny. I never thought I'd recommend a Streisand picture, but trust me when I say it's well worth checking out. Number 2. The Great Race. Another great epic comedy. In fact, it's sort of like the Lawrence of Arabia of comedies. The scope is huge, traveling all over the world for its locations, and yet it all centers around one simple premise. Some a-hole hates another guy's guts and so he wants to show him up. That's it. From that we get car chases, sword fights, explosions, and probably the mother of all pie fights. Hey, Professor! Its characters are so simple and yet so likable. Tony Curtis plays the great Leslie, a daredevil, record breaker, and just all-around perfect guy. Natalie Wood plays Miss Dubois, a feisty and determined feminist who will do anything to get her point across. But the scene stealer by far is Jack Lemmon as Professor Fate. And if you want to know where I got a lot of the Nostalgia Critic from, just watch his performance.
This time it will not be Leslie, it will be I, Professor Fate! Fate the Magnificent!
He is so angry, so bitter, and yet so bad at hiding it that it's just impossible not to laugh at him. I love how over-the-top and confident he is, even though he fails every single time. His ego is only surpassed by his cowardliness.
Put up your dukes! Come on!
You're a lunatic! A lunatic!
And again, I think a lot of that humor comes from the Looney Tunes, particularly Daffy Duck, which I myself draw a lot of inspiration from. Much like Dark Helmet, he's what makes the movie for me. But on top of that, I just love how grand it is and how far the movie will go just to get a few cheap laughs. It is pretty old school, and I will admit I don't know if it's for everybody, but I'll admit that I got a lot of inspiration from it, and it definitely made a huge impact on my sense of humor.
A pox on you! Why do you kick a different festival?
And my number one funniest comedy is Hot Fuzz. I know it's weird to put such a current movie as my favorite comedy, but every time I see it, there's always like a dozen jokes that I miss. I just love how fast, blatant, subtle, direct, verbal, and visual these jokes are. I think every joke known to man is tried out in this movie, and they're thrown at you a mile a minute. I love the pacing, I love the story, and I love how it all seems to be building up to a gigantic punchline which also serves as the climax for the movie. It's so over the top, yet there's also a lot of little jokes happening that you miss the first time around, and even the second time around. I've seen this movie about 5 times and I still don't think I've seen all the jokes. They're so fast and so clever that you have no choice but to go back and watch it over and over again. Thankfully, the characters are well written enough to support several viewings as well. They're funny, likable, and enjoyable to watch, even when they're batshit insane. Now, unfortunately, to talk about it too much would be giving away a lot of the jokes and the storylines, but I can easily say that I have never laughed harder and more consistently than I have watching Hot Fuzz, the all-time funniest movie I've ever seen. Thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed my picks. If you haven't seen any of them yet, check them out.